So, hello everybody. I've gone out a little bit early because it turns out I'm ready. But welcome to issue 38. I think it's going to be a good one. Oops, got sound. And welcome to the show. I'm Penny, and this is my co-host Horlicks.
Hello, everyone.
So, any news? Anything been happening this week, Horlicks, that you'd like to share with us?
No, I don't think so. Just no. I've been pretty quiet week actually. Um, I've been playing around with me Octoprint, as you know, which is obviously another subject. Um, and yeah, I've just managed to film the Routemasters issue 14, so it is going to be late today. It is uploading as we speak.
Brilliant.
And I was ill yesterday, so I didn't have a chance to do it. So I apologise, but any of you that are watching my builds, it will probably be on in the next hour or so. But we're all here, so
Yeah, I do like the head bobbing as you were talking.
yeah, I do that.
Yeah. Well, I've been a bit busy today as well, this week as well. Now I've got my printer working. I've now finished my what I call my part work drawer. So I don't know if you remember from last week, I had the little sections for the pill boxes. I haven't put the labels on, but what I've done is I've now done the top. So I've got little holes for the files and bits and bobs. I won't use all of these, but they're there. And obviously some things I'll use for other things. And I've just filled this space up just with a little lip so that if I should put anything on it, it's not going to roll off. And then just to fill the top in, I've made new parts drawers. So I've got a small one with sections in, and I've got another one for larger parts. So all I've got in it at the moment is I keep forgetting what that is. That's a handbrake, isn't it?
Yes.
Um, we were going to paint it last week, but the paint didn't stick to the paint that was on it. So what I've done is I've just put primer on, but we'll go through that later on. And then obviously I've got the part from last week, which we were told to keep. So with that, would you like to do some building?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So shall we go through the parts first then?
Okie doke. So
So first thing I'm going to do is now I do have a confession to make today. I am very, very confused. What's happened is I don't normally the first time I ever see this Routemaster is when I do my video. But obviously some people have been getting their issues a little bit early and they've been putting videos out. And I've got to confess I've been watching them. And now, for example, with your videos, like your R2 and your DeLorean, I don't fully get what you're doing because I don't get the magazine myself. But I am to a point able to follow. But watching other people's Routemaster videos, I've got completely lost. So I have no idea if this is going to be a good build or a bad build or what's going on. Bits are going to break, bits aren't going to break. So yeah, I'm actually very confused with this. So but I'll do my best with it. That's all I can offer you.
there is a lot
So
of parts, isn't there?
it does look like a lot of parts, but I think there's a lot of parts that go together. So we'll see what happens. Chris is saying tut tut penny, and we're getting a few hellos and things. So Paul, you are actually early for a chance change because I'm late. So that's good. And Chris Campling, he's another one who's usually late, isn't he? So thank you for the effort, Chris. Your efforts are appreciated. Right, so I'm going to have to use the part work phrase. Without further ado, let's crack on.
Okay. So right, 38A is a dashboard.
Okay, and this is lovely. This is really, although it's plastic, the detail on it is quite nice. And obviously, you've got the words, and it would be so obvious to say, oh, look at those words. But if you look at the detail with the little little bits on there, and the way that it's been painted, it's actually really nice. That is a really good example of when we do miniature painting, we constantly go on about keeping the layers thin. That's a really good example of what happens when you keep it thin. So I'm really impressed with the finish on that one. Okay,
Okay. 38B is the dashboard base.
okay, and this is obviously being a base is nothing special to. It's a flat piece of plastic with lots of holes in it. And
Okay.
my parts trays aren't going to be big enough. Look.
Right. 38C is a panel.
Okay. Now I think that's this piece.
Yeah.
And that's just a shaped piece of black plastic. I think all of these parts are plastic except for the screws, but I'll find out as we progress. Okay.
Okay. 38D is a right control lever.
Right. So I'm going to put 38D and 38F together. At this particular stage, they look pretty much the same to me. They're basically shaped pieces of plastic. They look a little bit like a garden trowel. But at this particular stage, I can't. Oh, there we go. There is a little bit of a difference between the two at the top. I'm going to get that at a good angle. But obviously, as we do the build, we'll figure it out. Okay.
Okay. Okay, so 30, what we on? 38E is a panel.
Okay, and that looks like this. It doesn't look anything special, just a flat piece of plastic. There's a little mark on mine. I don't know if that's going to be important at this stage, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, so 38F, or left control lever, we've done that.
Yep.
38G, the instrument box.
And that will be this. The pictures in the magazine are very two-dimensional. That's what you see. Obviously, this is what we've got. So again, quite plain, black plastic.
Okay, 38H is a cover.
38H looks like it's this piece. Oops. No stream of mine would be complete without me dropping anything. And I can notice that there's locating pins in there. So that looks like the job's just got a little bit easier. Okay.
Right. Okay, so then you've got 38I, which is an indicator switch.
Which is probably my favourite part of this week because it's nice and glossy and red. Very red. It looks like a big red button that you mustn't press.
Yeah.
So, hang on. There we go. Got to press it.
Okay. 38J, switch base.
Okay. There seems to be lots of parts that, how do I describe it? They're not like parts of the bus. They build up to something.
38K is a post.
That looks like a post with a little flaggy thing on it. Okay.
Okay. 38L is a speedometer.
Did you say spinometer?
A speedometer.
Oh, speedometer. I thought you said spinometer. So I'm struggling to pick that up, so I'm going to have to use my tweezers. And that's based, whoops, an MPH dial that has a top speed of 60 with a little sticker on the back. So obviously that's going to get stuck down. So no Ferrari speeds in this one, I'm afraid. Okay.
Okay. A spinometer. Oh. Right. 38M is an electric switch, and so is 38N actually.
Yeah.
M and N are electric switches.
38M is a grey and white wire, quite long, with a label that says A on it, with a little connector there, and a switch fairly similar to the one that we put on the cab floor, but the little post is a little bit longer. So, okay. And that's that one. And 38N is exactly the same, except that it's black and yellow with a little switch, and that's labeled B. So did you want to test these before we start building, or as it comes up?
I don't mind. I suppose we could do it afterwards.
Okay. I mean, I'd like to test it before we actually install it.
Yeah,
Right,
I
okay.
suppose so.
So next is
Okay, so 38O cable clips times 8, and then you get 5 spare.
5 spare.
So it's, yeah, you get 8, it says times 8, and then it says
1,
5 spare.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, there's my 8. I can't see any spares.
No, I think it means you get 8, but 5 of those 8 are
Oh,
spares.
we only need 3. Sorry, guys, I keep forgetting to bring it up. So there's a little overview of the parts. So we have, so what you're saying is that these 3 will be used, these 5 will get left over.
Yeah.
I suppose that's another spot in the pillbox I'm going to have to find.
It's a bit odd.
So,
I don't know why they're unless that they're spare from this issue, but we may need them later on. Maybe
might
that's
need them later on, yeah.
yeah. Okay, so 38P is an electric switch panel.
Okay, I think that's, I'm sure that's this one.
Yeah, that looks right.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, and that is it. And then we should have DP screws, FP, JP, and
JP.
AM.
Oh, they look big and chunky, don't they?
And then obviously there's a little
And
balloon
AMs.
that says
So
that
I'm
there
just
are.
going to check.
Yeah, so there's a little balloon here just to say that there are many small parts supplied with this issue. It's a good idea to lay them out and identify them before you start assembly. Well,
Right.
that's what we do anyway.
Yeah. So
Always
let me
lay
just get
them
my
out,
pill
trays.
boxes. So we've got 1 set of metal screws and 3 sets of plastic screws.
Yeah.
So FP, DP, and JP is a new one. So another new screw. And I've just stabbed myself with these tweezers. Can you believe that? I just stabbed myself in the chest. Okay, so shall we have a look at stage 1?
Yes, and Izzy has left a comment saying that the picture's blurred. It's out of
Yes.
focus.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I keep forgetting. Obviously, I'm working down here to show the parts, and I'm going to try and work up here when I'm actually doing the build. But what I'll do for now is obviously we're now going to flick over to Horlicks, who's going to show us the stage 1, and then that will just give me a bit of time just to prepare the parts as I normally do.
Okay.
So we'll look at how Horlicks' handsome face while we wait for that.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, so this is step 1. So we need to take the dashboard base, 38B, and then I identify the fixing points for the panels 38C and 38E. And then we need to fix those 2 panels into place with DP screws.
Okie dokie. So I'm a little bit confused over which parts are which, mainly because the parts are similar sized. But I'm pretty confident that when I get the wrong bit, it won't fit. So sorry, I'm just finishing off getting these screws in. So I've just got one more set to do, which is the J, and I've forgotten where the J's go now. I, J, N on the C. I wish they'd make their mind up if they want to use a large font or a small.
Yeah, I've noticed that. But it wasn't until my issue 14 I've realised my screw pot is not big enough either.
Yeah, sometimes it's more than ample, and sometimes it isn't. That's just the way it goes. Okay, so we're going to be using DP screws. So I'm going to
Yeah.
find the screwdriver bit that's going to fit the DP screws. That might be a little bit big. And that is a little bit small, so we'll go back to that one. Right, so pop a couple screws in there. Right, so I'll start off with the dashboard base, and it looks like, right, we're looking for what I'm identifying is this part here. So we've got the two pegs that are sticking outwards. You see that they're a little bit off center. So I'm going to get those towards me, and I'm locating the peg there. Then we've got 38 E, which I think is this one. And sorry, I've got a little bit of light bounce off my magazine. Right, we want the locating peg at the bottom, and it looks like it's going to go into roughly the middle. No. Oh, because I've got this the wrong way round. That's why. Right, okay, no problems. So you see there that roughly down the middle you've got three holes. You've got a sunken hole, a larger hole, and a hole in the bottom. You've got a large screw hole there and a locating peg. The large hole wants to go into there, and the locating peg wants to go into the bottom one, and then that will line up like so, leaving us the middle hole, sorry, the top hole, where we're going to pop the DP screw in. So spend a little bit of time just lining this up, and that's going in not. Just like, oops, that's gone in at an angle. Right, try and keep that straight. There you go. It's a little bit awkward because I'm trying to push the screw down, but then that's pushing the panel out. Once you've got the screw in a certain way, certain distance, obviously there's not then going to be enough to come out. And that's gone a bit tight. There you go. That's nice and tight, so I'm going to stop there. Okay, so the next part looks like it's going to be there is no other part now. There's only this one.
Mm-hmm.
So that is going to go in with the hole to the right, and that will go in. There we go. So we've got four holes. The one in the middle, we want the large hole there to go through. And then we've got two other holes which are locating pegs. Although it looks like that will leave us one hole, which is I'm a little bit confused now, but I'm sure we'll get there. So there we go. That's gone in perfect. And that will then go straight through the middle there. Whoops. Sorry, let me, I'm struggling a little bit here for some reason. So get it in a nice comfortable position. And keep it straight. A few slow turns till it's starting to bite. It's trying to push the part out because obviously it's going to go that way, no problems. So I need to just support it with my finger. And I'm turning it. I'm not trying to go wiggle, So, and that's nice and tight, and that's adding some shape to this base. So, and I'm going to guess that's the bottom. So that's the bottom. So they'll look like that. Hence these little lumps. So I think that's stage 1 done.
Yeah, that looks to be complete.
Okay. So
Okay,
stage.
so oh,
You're
that's
reading
right.
me
I nearly,
something.
yeah, no, it's all right. I nearly did a U penny. I nearly deleted the file.
You nearly did a year. Oh yeah. You'll never let me live that down, will you?
No.
For for the benefit of those that have no idea what the reference is, I have 2 computers. Excuse me, and thus I have 2 keyboards. And we have a shared file on Google where we put files that we want to both look at. And on one computer, it was I was on that directory, and on the other computer I was on something and I wanted to delete a file. But what I'd done was actually using the keyboard from the computer that was in our shared file, thinking I was on the other computer, and I hit the delete button, and I'm sitting there going, why is it not deleted my file? Meanwhile, I'm wiping files out of our shared drive. So, and Horlicks will never let me live that one down. So,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, step 2, we're going to take the right and left control levers,
okay.
38D and F, and fit them into the sockets on the panels 38C and 38E, fitted to part
Right.
38B in the previous step.
Lovely.
Fixed in place with 2 FP screws.
Okay, and we've got 2 pictures of that, which is very handy. So it looks right. Okay, so it looks like can I just control your mouse to the first picture where the control the actual levers are?
Yeah.
Just bring your mouse down a little bit so they're between the 2. That's it. Right. It looks like they're exactly the same except that they're a mirror image of each other. So
Right. Yeah.
the outside bit, you've got like an outside bit and an inside bit.
Yeah.
And then lining that up from the parts that we've just put on, that looks like that's how they're going to go on. Whether we'll be able to spin those freely, I don't know, but we'll give it a go. So let me see what I can do. So it looks like one goes that way. And just to confirm, we will turn this around so it matches the second picture, which obviously we haven't just shown you. And that, right, so that's the wrong way round. It actually wants to go that way. Because, right. So when you're looking at it from the front, you see that there's a bend in it. Can you see that bend? So it's actually going to bend away and then back forwards again. And at the same time, the lever wants to be sitting on the outside, not the inside. So do you see it like that?
I see.
Yeah, and that's how I've interpreted it.
Yeah.
It's not so easy to see from this side, but this one is 38D. As I say, you can't see the bend from the first picture. I'm getting my final orientation from the second picture, which is this angle. and you can see that the bend, it goes away, downwards, and then upwards. So what I'll do is I'll get that one screwed in now, and I'm not even going to think about the second one. And that, I think that's going to be too big. Sorry guys, I'm just switching the heads over. Yeah, that's much better. So, and I think the easiest way to do this will spin round freely. So what I'm going to do is oops, I'm just going to put it in any old how, and then I'm going to pop the screw in just enough so that it bites. Oops. And then we can worry about the orientation later, just as long as we get it so it's not going to fall out. And that, it doesn't want to go in. So have I done that wrong? Is the big question. Ah, there we go. I must have held it just at a slight angle. Right, there we go. So I've got that in just enough so that it bites, which enables me to position it as I want to. And oh, I see, that lever's actually going to be leaning forwards. And you know that's right because the base, the part where you're going to screw it in, is going to be down flat. So I'll give that a couple more screws until it's almost tight. So there we go, that's tight. So now I'll loosen it off about half a turn. That will give me the chance to readjust it. So I'll hold it in the position that I want it to be in, and I'm going to give it a quarter turn, not the half turn that I've just given it. And then I can just keep rechecking it. So I'll give that maybe an eighth or possibly even a quarter of a turn. There you go. Just enough now so that I can turn it, but it's giving resistance. And I would say that's fine. So now I'll give it a final tighten up. Okay, that's turned as I've turned the screw. So I'll just loosen it a little tiny bit. And then it's the hardest bit is holding the switch so that it doesn't turn. I think that's a little bit off center. So I'll just, although to be fair, as you turn the screw, it will turn the switch. There we go. Like you see, it's turning the switch. So just keep adjusting that until you're happy with it. But I don't think I'll be fully happy with it until I've got the second one in. So again, same as before. Is that right in the middle? Yeah. So basically, this is going to go into the two parts that we've just fitted in the previous stage. So that's in enough so that it bites. So we get that roughly in the position we want. And then we will continue screwing until it's almost tight. Then I can, oops, that's too tight. We'll just loosen that off a bit. There we go. Right, so I need your OCD now, Horlicks. Don't know how well you can see that, but would you say that they're level?
Yeah, I think so.
If they are out, they're not out by much, are they?
No. Yeah, I think that's passable.
Okay, it's passable. B plus, C plus, A minus. There we go. So that part, stage two, I think was rather simple. However, you had to look at both pictures, and I found the second picture or the insert a little bit easier. That kind of explained things a little bit more. Okay, so Does anybody know what these are actually for? They're obviously just on show. They're not doing anything. But maybe yeah, Chris Campling's just said what are the levers for. Maybe it'll make more sense once we put it all together. But I'll go back through some of the Routemaster videos and I'll look for any cockpit shots. So yeah, okay. So do you want to have a look at stage three?
Yeah, okay. So,
Okay.
stage 3, you need to fit the cover 38H over the instrument box 38G, and then fit the box and the cover to the dashboard base 38B with 2 DP screws.
Okay. So right. So we have the part that we've just put together on stage two, and oh, I see. Yeah. So we've got two holes and we've got a locating pin. And then that's going to line. We're just obviously going to place the two holes somewhere over there, but the locating pin is the important bit. So we see that we line this up. That's opposite, obviously, and that's going to turn over. And at this stage, this can rotate freely. And then what we'll do is we will put the right. So we've got two holes on the top. You notice we had the hole for the locating pin there. On the top, we have two holes, and they're for the locating pins on this one. So first thing I'm going to do, you know me, I like to try and break things. So let's see if A, we can put that in the wrong way, and B, if we do put it in the wrong way, does it make it right? I cannot put that in the wrong way, and that's because the holes are actually off center. So you can't put this in wrong. So that goes in there, and that goes over the locating peg, like so. And because you've now put the top piece in, that's created another pin at the bottom. So they will go into there. So you've got 3 points of contact there, and they will be secured with the DP screw. And I would suggest, as I always do, we just put the first screw in just enough so that it bites. Then we'll put the second screw in, and then we'll tighten them up. And I am very happy with the way that this magnetizes. But I noticed that with this screwdriver, the magnetizing comes from the screwdriver, not from the bit. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
If you remove the bit, it won't pick anything up with the magnet. Right, there we go. I'm just going to do that a little bit more. I know I just said till it bites, but there we go. So what I mean by that is if you take the bit out, it actually does now pick screws up. There we go. But it doesn't pick them up very well. But if you put the bit on, it picks them up very well. Right, so we've got the first screw in. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, it could be the destination board handles. I like that. And that certainly makes sense. Although I always thought they were little handles. However, I wasn't around in the 60s. Do you know what? I do apologise. I think I'd be better off with going back to the larger bit. Yeah. Sometimes you want a deeper bit to get into the screw. Sometimes you want a broader bit to catch more of it. And I think in this case you want the broader bit. So I'm using, may not make sense to anyone, but the J0 bit. And I've screwed that up almost there. And this one I'm going to screw up all the way. Remember, it's plastic, so don't over tighten. But to be honest with you, I could probably screw that up a little bit tighter. In fact, I'm going to, because there's a tiny bit of looseness in there. It probably doesn't show, but I know. So I'll just give that about a quarter of a turn. Yeah, there's hardly any. But you see, I could tighten that up more, but do I really need to? So yeah, that I'm happy with now. Okay.
Brilliant.
So, stage 4.
Oh, how exciting. Okay, so you need to take the floor panel that we were working on last week.
Yeah.
Okay, so take the post 38K and fit it into the socket in the floor of the driver's cab. And then it says, note,
Okay.
again, this is a push fit connection.
Okay. Now I think this is the part that some people have broken. So that says to me that be careful. So again, I don't know what this post is for. Right. So I can see that for want of a better expression, I'm going to call this a flag at the bottom. So the little flag wants to be pointing forwards with a nodule there, and it's going to go just in front of the little switch that's on the floor there, which I'm going to rub it in here. Mine clicks fine. Okay, and don't push it from the top, guys, because that's going to put so much pressure on the post. Hold it as far down as you can, and it's going to be a little bit tricky, especially if you've got big fat hands. And that doesn't want to go in easily. So I'm going to remove it, and it now doesn't want to come out again. Right, so because it's feeling a little bit fat, we're just going to help it go on a diet. I'm just going to get a little file, and I'm just going to run it along that peg. Very light scratch all over. Right, we can always take more off. Normally we say we can add, but we can't take away. This is actually the opposite. We can take more off, but we can't add more on. And that's a little bit better. And we'll see how that goes. There we go. That's gone in lovely. So you see, that was only a tiny scraping. I took probably, I don't know, probably, well, a tenth of a millimeter, if that, off. So, and that's on there, and that will probably come out again if I want to take it out. But that's fine. Okay,
Brilliant.
are we happy with that?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm glad they made that too big. I mean, how's everyone else's? The levers for lights and wipers, of course. Why didn't I think of that? Door release. I don't think there would be a door release because this was a two-man operation, and I think the back door was permanently open. But actually, remind me when we finish the build. I've got some absolutely amazing news. I have mentioned it. It's regarding a manual, but that's all I'll tell you at this stage. Oops, I've just taken you off. Right, so are we ready for stage 5?
We certainly are. So
Lovely.
we need to take the dashboard base 38B with the assembled parts and fit the cylindrical sockets into the recesses near the edge of the floor of the cab 35A. Fix in place from below with 2 JP screws.
Right. Okay, and I've just done a little test. This is so easy. I've just done a little test fit while you were describing it. So you've got 2 screw holes there, one there and one there, and then you've got a locating pin there. On here you've got screw hole, locating pin, and these JP screws. These are the big chunky screws. So I would suggest that they are seriously going to cut into that. and really hold that firmly. So that looks like it's got quite big, quite fat thread on it. So fat seems to be the theme today. So same as before, I'm going to first of all line it up, and I know it's going to go roughly like that. So we'll just, there you go, look. That pretty much goes in by itself. Now, does that lever look right? That's sat right behind the steering wheel. So if the driver needs to pull that lever, he's not going to get to it very easily. But then he's not going to get to the indicators easily either, is he? Right. So we'll turn this upside down.
It wouldn't be
And
some sort of weird foot lever, would it? On the
I
bottom
would,
of the dash?
to be honest with you, your guess is as good as mine. Right. You need some way to support this while it's upside down. I'm actually thinking I'm going to put my middle finger through there, and I'm just going to rest it on there. So that, and then my thumb's going to go there. And my fingers on the steering wheel. Hold it gently, but hold it well enough that it stays there. And probably a good idea to load your screwdriver up before you do this. So we've got one screw hole there and one screw hole there. And I'm just going to pop this one in. You know what I'm going to say. Just enough until it grabs. And that's grabbed. And that's the force of you screwing it is actually going to try and push that out. So, and this nice big chunky screw is going to go into there. And that's gone in a little bit better. So that's in there now. It's just holding. It's very loose, obviously. And now we can get a better position. Watch these bits down here. They are fragile, or they look fragile. So take your time, guys. I'm not pushing down too hard, because the harder I push with the screwdriver, the harder I've got to counter push with this finger. And this is a plastic part. So, and they are quite difficult to turn because of the width of the threads. And this one, I'm not sure if I'm going to take this one out again, because that looks, there we go. It looked like it had gone in at a slight angle. So again, keep your eye on the screws. Look at it by eye. And that's in as much as I would expect it, given the width of this. It's a thin bit of plastic. Actually, no, that'll go in a little bit more. Your judgment call, because it's, oh, there you go. There was a bit more. It's probably about another quarter of a screw on there. And this screwdriver is trying to slip out, but if I use a smaller head, it's not going to be wide enough for it. So there you go. Oh, that's 10 times better. But that's a nice fit there. I wish you could feel that. It's flexible, but you can tell it's rock solid at the bottom. It's sort of flexing round about here, this sort of height. If you can see that, the bottom's not really moving at all, is it? Okay.
Brilliant.
So let me just check that. See who's messaged me. Oh. Right. So I've just seen a message come up. It's not relevant to the show. So, oh, apparently your issue 14 is up now.
Yes. Yeah, I did reply.
One word, jinxed. Okay, so are we happy with that? This is pretty much the angle of the insert. Obviously, the insert hasn't got a ton of masking tape all over it, but we all know why I've got masking tape on it. Okay, so
Okay,
part
so
6.
6, yes. So take the speedometer.
The speedometer?
Yeah, 38L, and peel off. What? Are you
Sorry,
being
I
horrible?
was pulling you. I was being horrible. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Spinometer. Yeah. All right. Let's take the spinometer. 38L and peel off the backing paper as indicated by the light blue arrow.
Right. Okay. So for this, I'm going to introduce a brand new, well, it's not a brand new tool. We've used this before. If you remember when we did the engines, we had the little AEG stickers, and I really wanted to get those lined up perfectly. And the way I did that was with a stick if you've got a paper clip, you can straighten a paper clip. Basically what we're going to do, which I can't pick this up, it's too thin. Right, so we're going to somehow remove this paper. I've actually just trimmed my fingernails today, so if I'd known we had to do this, I wouldn't have trimmed them. Okay, so that backing paper is actually thicker than the tape. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this to the thin end of there we go. And we're going to, actually take that back, sorry, bear with me a sec. You don't want to use wood because it's too sticky to the wood. Right, so just on the very end, I just happen to have this, I promise you. So we're just going to stick like a millimetre, just enough to hold, maybe a bit more. There we go, just enough to hold it. And then what that will enable us to do, we want to get that in as straight and level as we can. So now we can position it with this. Yeah, it's pretty much the same way as we did with the engine. So it looks like the 30 is the 12 o'clock position. So I'll actually go for that. So push that up. We can now remove, that's pulled it a little bit. Right, there we go. And I'll drop that in. There we go. How's that?
Brilliant.
Does that work for you? So obviously we want to get that. We're not just chuck it in randomly because otherwise we're going to get 30 here and 60 there and 0 is going to be down here somewhere. So obviously make the effort to get it as straight as you can. I think it might be out a couple of degrees, but you can rotate it a little bit. Obviously this glue will get stronger the longer you leave it. So once I've got it where I want it, I'm going to push it down a little bit and hopefully that'll just get stronger and stronger. So tomorrow, there's no way I'm going to try and get that out. Okay, and that's section 6.
6. Okay, so 7. You need to take the indicator switch 38I and the switch base 38J. Note there is a ridge on the indicator switch that fits into a slot on the base 38J. Assemble the switch and fit it to the dashboard as indicated. Fix in place with a DP screw.
Okay. So I've just had a little look at this lever. Now we've got gloss shiny on the top, matte red on the bottom, gloss shiny, gloss red. So what I've tried to do, I've always tried to handle it from the bottom, because if I get a scratch on that, I'd rather have got the scratch on the bottom where it's not going to show. Okay, and all we're going to do there is, it's only going to go one way because it's a little keyhole fitting. I don't know if you can see it there. And there's the hole. And that will just simply go in there like that. And that's a nice tight fit. And that's going to go on to, there we go. We've got so that same keyhole fitting, the key from the red bit is also going to go into there. So there we go. And that will fasten with, remind me, DP screw.
DP screw, yeah.
Okay, and I should have got that screw ready. Yep, happy with that. So I'm just going to hold that. You might want to put a cloth there if you want to, or give it a little polish afterwards. And turning it slowly because it is plastic. And we're just going to keep screwing until it naturally wants to stop. Don't over tighten. And not happy with that, so I'll screw it a little bit more. Just give it a, not even a full turn. There we go, still not happy with that. But it's better to keep stopping and going, oh, I'm not happy with that, rather than go in and over tighten it. That's better, but I'm still not happy. That's probably about 90% there. I can feel a little bit of movement. There you go, I'm happy now. And that's a little bit lopsided, so I'm just going to unscrew that a little bit. We can readjust that. There we go. And whoops, I'll just pop my finger there because that's the direction it wanted to turn. There we go. Lovely. I'm really happy with that. Very, very happy. What do you guys think? Just that little splotch of red, I think that makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, it finishes it off nicely.
Just giving it a little bit of pop. Okay, so next section is section 8.
Okay, so take the electric switch panel, 38P, and check the orientation matches the diagram. Fit part 38P to the back of the dashboard 38A, as shown, and fix in place with 2 DP screws.
Okay,
It says if you find any screw holes clogged with paint, use a fine round file or similar to remove any excess paint.
Okay, so I'll deal with that red circle first. So let me find a round file. There we go. So I've got a round needle file. I got these for about £10–12 on Amazon, and we'll just pretend that one's clogged with paint. All we're going to have to do is just pop that in there and just slowly rotate it. Keep pushing it down. This particular one's a little bit too small, so I'll find a bigger one, and I can just gently like that. I'm actually not doing it very hard because I don't want to take any out unless I know I need it. But that's just gently rotate it, and that's all that means by that. These are those tools that I've got 10 different shapes and sizes. I've got a triangular one there, and I don't use them very often. This one's a bit more oval. But yeah, I don't use them very often, but when I do use them, I'm really glad I've got them.
They do look brilliant. I need to get a set of those myself.
Yeah. Although this one I use quite a lot. This is just a square one. But as I say, I don't use them that often. When I do use them, I'm really glad they're worth their weight in gold. Right, so there's the front of the panel. I'm going to rotate it. We're very limited in places we can put this, and these are the only two obvious holes. So we're going to get this piece, and you see we've got tabs on the top. So we want the tabs going upwards, and they're going to go in like so. And they look like they could be quite fiddly to put in. So we'll see what happens. And I've said it numerous times on this build, but I'm really going to stress it. Just put the screw in just enough. Actually, what we'll do is we'll thread the first screw in like so. Then that's not going to fall off now, is it? And then what we'll do is we'll just, doesn't matter what position we have it in, we'll just find that screw, and then we'll just put that in just enough so it grabs. You see that it's on, but it's not on tight. And that will now give us a little bit more maneuvering space. And actually, we've got a fairly locked fit there. So then I'll grab the other screw. I don't, to be honest with you, Chris. Yeah, Chris, I could extend it, but it's going to give me a lot less control. So I'd rather keep it shorter. It's only if you I haven't got anything I can use as an example. Oh, there we go. Obviously, if you were screwing a screw down there somewhere, then that's when you would extend your screwdriver. As you can see that I can only reach that far down. But if I was to then extend the reach, I could extend a lot further. That's when you'd really use it. But I think there'd be a lot less control. I want to work as closely as I can to keep as much control as I can. And I don't want to lose that. So, second screw, and this one is actually not going to be very easy. In fact, actually, this might not work at all with this screwdriver. Yeah, like you see, it's got to go in at an angle. That's actually really hard. So maybe I should have put this screw in first. So let's take this screw out. And then we can extend that one all the way in. Yeah. Okay. Did anyone else struggle with this bit? It's just that this little bit there is in the way. So I'm going to try and push that in. There we go. Still difficult, but because that screw is already in first, yeah, that's going to be difficult. We'll give it a go. I may have to switch out to a, yeah, I might have to go back to the original Routemasters screw driver. It's just a little bit too fat. There we go. Actually, that's working. That's in. Right, okay. So I'm going to have to go against my own advice here. I may have to... no, that's actually going in okay. Okay, fair enough. So ignore what I said then. But I'm ready to switch out to different tools. If I'll admit defeat with a tool. Okay, that's in. And this is where I discover I've done something wrong, like held it upside down or something, and it's all got to come out again. Right, so there we go. And yeah, because we're working upside down, when you then turn it that way, you're like, whoa, what's going on? So that bit is actually the bottom under there. Right, so that's in nice and tight. Are you happy with that?
That is brilliant.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
So stage 9, and we haven't got many pieces left now, I'm happy to say.
Okay, so now it looks like we're moving on to the electronics.
Yeah, Fighter Sweep has just said that left-hand screw was a bit of a pain.
Okay.
Right, so electronics. So shall I? Oops, sorry, I meant to look at you. I do apologise. So there you go. You have the show now.
Okay, so yeah, we're going to be fitting some of the switches in. Now, it might be a good opportunity now to test them, as you said earlier.
Okay, so I'm just going to pop my driver's cab on my little box.
And it's just good to do that because, yeah, why go to all the effort trying to fit them if there may be a problem with them? So at least we know, peace of mind.
Now, Chris Campbell gave me some advice last week and again last night. Don't think I'm ignoring you. I will be trying, because these have got quite sharp points on them. These are the ones from my cheap multimeter, which you can see are quite fat. These are a lot smaller. So I will try with these, because obviously you don't need to make more work than you have to. If it doesn't work with these, then I will take your advice with the tin foil. And I hope I don't have to, because I don't know if I have any tin foil. And there is actually some openings there where we can shove in the points. Alternatively, I could put in a jumper wire or something. So what I'll do is I will right. Let's get some masking tape out. I had some masking tape. I'll tell you what, we'll borrow a piece. Right. So what I'm going to do
Where's your
is I'm going
helping
to.
hands? That would be ideal for that.
Oh, do you know what? I never thought of that one. That's in a box somewhere. Right, I'm going to mask this down so you see that the screw is up. And I'm just going to pop the box on it. And then I'm going to. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I don't need to press the switch. I just need to press the box. So there's one terminal. There's the second. Oh. There we go. Perfect. I don't know if you heard that. And that's showing a resistance of, it's going down about 0.5. So that's good, isn't it? That's a good connection.
Yeah.
So wire number A works. And wire B, oh, that's not going to be so easy because of the position of the wire. So I won't be able to do that in the same way. It's not a problem. So what I'm doing is on the last one, whoops, I got my hands in a tangle now. Oh, try not to touch the contacts on here. There we go. Got resistance. I got whatever it's called. So that's going down to. It's taking a while to go down. That's about 0.8. So I wonder if that's a longer wire. Not much in it. That's actually a shorter wire. So, all right. So I'm happy that both of those wires work. I almost read that, Chris, where you said, "Yep, we hear it." It's like, more like, "Yeah, we can hear it."
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So I'm happy with those wires. So what do we have to do then?
Right, okay, so take parts 38M and N. Note that the yellow one is labelled B and the white one is labelled A. Turn the dashboard assembly in the orientation shown and fit the switches on the ends of the cables 38M and N into the holes on the switched panel.
Okie dokie. So again, I think this is going to be like the other part where it's going to be easy, but you've got to get the orientation right. Okay, so there's a tab sticking up there, and there's the smaller one. So we've definitely got it this way. That means that B, which is this one, the yellow one, wants to be towards us. And that's, those wires are actually bent. Can I just show you? Can you just close in on the wires?
Yeah, I was
See
just
that
thinking
wire
that.
goes straight up,
Yeah.
whereas mine are bent. So I want
But
to do this live on.
hang on a minute though. Let me just skip forward a bit just to see if it's gonna ask us to bend them. Because you don't want to weaken them if it's going to ask us to bend them later on.
I think if you look at stage 10, I think that shows that they've got to be straight.
Right. Yeah, okay. I just didn't want you to bend them back, and then
Yeah,
for it
I understand what you were
bend them
saying.
back
Yeah.
again, and then they could have snapped off.
Right. I wonder if it'd be better if I put them in and then bent them once they're actually in place. Oh, that's very stiff.
Yeah, because look, if you look at, I'm going to zoom in a bit. I've just gone ahead to the finished views. Can you see the angle of the wires? It looks like they may be bent outwards again.
Ah, so what you're saying is that maybe actually this one should be bent, not straight.
Eventually, yeah, maybe.
Okay, look, I'll tell you what I'll do then is I will fit them without actually bending them, and then I'll see if I come across any problems. So this one's, but basically make sure that the connections are up. So that's going to go in to there, like so, and that's not going to stay in very easily. So I wonder if there's, I'm going to have to hold that. And then this one, again, that goes in and that's going above. Right, guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to skip a stage ahead before Horlicks has read it out, but I'm not going to screw this in. The reason being is that I know that once we get this next part in, that will hold them in. And it kind of will become clear once Horlicks has explained it. There we go. So basically what I've got is I've got a nice piece of plastic that's going to sit across those. And I don't like that. Right, okay, forget that idea then. Let's just go straight to the next part then. Right. So, would you like to,
Okay, so step 10.
yeah,
Yeah, to fit the back panel 37F supplied with the previous issue over the ends of parts 38M and N, and then fix the back panel 37F in place with 3 DP screws.
right, okay. So, I'll get my DPs ready so that I'm not fiddling with those while I'm trying to hold everything in place. Okay, so now this part, it's got a little, two little tabs on the bottom. If you can see them okay. I can't see those tabs on the magazine, so I'm going to assume that those tabs go at the bottom like that. And then I'm going to place, see that's trying to pop out. That's why I was trying to hold them in, you see. So really we need 15 fingers and 17 hands. Right, I'm actually holding this upside down because that's how it's going to be easier to get the screws in. So, of the switches. So I'm going to have to bring this in. Oh, I see. Right. Those little tabs on the bottom, they actually go in between the contact points on the switches. So if you can just see two metal points there, they're actually going to sit in the middle there, and that will hold the screws in place. And that wire is going to be in the way, so I'm going to have to move that wire. Should I just bend it or should I heat it? Oh, there we go. Okay, it's a fiddly part, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to use my tweezers. There we go. Oops. As Julia Roberts would say, slippery little sucker. Right, I think what might be easier, if we get that middle DP in just enough so that it grabs. Oh, saying that, I've got it in. Right. Okay, that's gone in. Right. So I'm definitely going to put that middle DP in first. It might rotate a little bit, but at least then it's in. Okay. So middle one. I'm sorry if you can't see this. Sometimes it's really difficult to play to the camera. Right. So that's gonna like screws falling out. The switch is falling out. So I've got that in just enough so see that's now in, and then I can just there we go. I can just fiddle with the switches. I can push that down. That's jumped straight out. That's really struggling there. It's kind of an exact fit. So, and you can't really see in there to make sure those tabs are in the right place. You have to do it by feel. And then if you accidentally push here on the switches, it's then going to push them out. So, okay, right. I'm happy that that one is in enough so that it bites. So I'm now going to try and put the other two in. It should then hold the switch roughly in the position we want. Again, this is fiddly. There we go.
God, yeah.
It's in just so it's grabbing. Trouble is, what doesn't help is aim a camera's not awesome. Do you know what, Chris? I think you just hit the nail on the head there. That must be the heater switches, the levers. Right. Okay. So that's the third one in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw the outside screws in, but I'm going to have like a little race where no one screw is too much ahead of another. So we'll do that middle screw till it catches up. Then I'll do just a couple of turns on the outside screw, because if that isn't in properly, by doing these outside screws, it's going to cause it to bend in the middle and possibly snap. So we'll do the outside ones, and then we'll do a catch up with the middle one. You see, I'm only doing a couple of turns. I want to just do this really easily, really gently, in case I've done it wrong. I suspect that this is only just to hold those switches in place. So if I didn't do them fully tight, it probably isn't going to matter. So long as those screws can be I keep calling them screws. So long as those switches can be operated.
Yeah, that's it, Chris. There is no rush. It's not. We're not in the Guinness World Records for the fastest build.
No.
You've got a week.
I know that there are some people out there that like to get these done as quickly as possible, and that's fine. I don't knock that. Right. Now, the only problem I've got now, it has bent that wire more straighter. I actually have absolutely no way of testing if that still works. However, the switches work fine. That one's a little bit dodgier. This one, you press it and it returns nicely. This one, it does return, but it doesn't feel like it. So I'll keep an eye on that. I'm not going to bend that yet until I absolutely have to, because obviously the more I bend it, the more damage I'm going to put to it. So let's do a quick view of.
You could loosen that screw off very slightly on the dodgy one, and then that might make it return a bit better, because there was a similar thing on the DeLorean.
Okay, so if I give that a quarter of a turn. Oh, do you know what? Oh, you're a genius, Horlicks. That's returning so nicely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Horlicks. So if you can Can you hear that clicking? That's the white one, and that's the yellow one. Right. Well, the thing is, I've got the connections are now buried in there. So I'm just going to have to, in Hachette we trust. So.
Oh no, yeah, I
Unless.
think what Chris means is you can test it. You have to put your multimeter on the plug again, and then just push the switch at the bottom. But
Oh, of course.
but
Oh,
I don't
oh,
think.
idiot. Right. Okay. Do you mind if I do test that then?
No, you can do. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I've not knocked. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chris. I think I'm having an idiot moment. Right. So this is the white switch. I don't want to test it too much though, because I might end up stabbing or damaging the contact points. It might actually help if I turn the multimeter on. Okay. Every time I slip, I feel like I'm stabbing it. Ah! I wish I had 3 hands. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. And this is the one I'm a little bit worried about. If this doesn't work, who's to blame, Hachette or me? Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So this stage in time, both of those wires work absolutely fine. So there we go. That's that section done. So can I ask you just to bring up the bottom insert picture on number 10, the one, that one. Yeah, that's basically how mine looks. So I'm happy with that. So it's 2 little switch. I wonder what they'll do, because they're obviously only switches that will only work while you've got. They're not on-off switches. They're on when you push them and off when you let go of them. Okay, so part 11.
Yeah, the DeLorean switches in the center console are the same, but because it's controlled by a main circuit board,
Right.
that's all that is required. Just a quick push, and then it turns something on. It's really
Oh,
weird.
so they are toggle switches then?
They could be, yeah,
Or one could be on,
potentially.
one could be off.
Yeah, potentially.
Right.
But they'll
Okay.
probably
Oh.
turn the lights on or something along those lines, I reckon.
Has anyone got a time machine, proper time machine that actually works, and we can go forward in time and we can have a look at what they actually do?
Yeah, we could try and get in the DeLorean.
Yeah, except your DeLorean's not working yet, is it? Still
No,
another, what, 9 weeks to go?
yeah, something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, 11. Do. Okay, so fit the dashboard assembly 38A over the dashboard back. Okay, so that the screw sockets circled in red are aligned, fixed in place with 2 JP screws.
I've not got a clue how this is going. Okay. Right. So we're going to have a little fiddle here, I think. So I'm guessing these are the screw holes there,
Yeah, that's right.
but it's getting the... okay. Yep, okay, that's actually easier than I thought it was. I was having a little fiddle. I'm going to suspect that that notch there is for the wires, but I guess we'll find that out later on. So, and I didn't get my JPs ready. And have we used JP's already in this issue? I'm sure we have.
Do you know what? I can't remember.
Let's have a look. Because curiosity's getting the better of me now. I just recognise the big chunkiness of them. Right, we've got 5. And I've got 3 in the pot. So yes, we have, but I can't figure out where. Right, so I'm just going to hold this roughly in place. And then I'm just going to pop 1 screw in. And we're just going to turn it, you guessed it, enough so that it grabs. That's not actually wanting to line up. So we'll keep... Actually, it might be easier if I do this one. There we go. So we just hold that in place. There we go. So now that creates kind of a pivot there. So that second one will be a lot easier to get in. Formerly the first one. Right, so these screws aren't actually that long. Right, now this is going to be tricky because that's quite flimsy plastic. So I'm just going to try as best I can to get my finger behind it. I can't get my finger right over it, but I can just add a little bit of support. And just like that other part, I can't remember which one it was, I'm not pushing very hard. I'm pushing hard enough. So I've got to turn very slowly. Because if I turn too fast, because I'm not pushing down hard, it runs the risk of breaking it. And also where my finger is on this side, it's very close to these levers, which obviously I run the risk then of snapping. This one is just as oh, there we go. Right, so I can actually put my thumb on this box there. So that will help with this screw there. So this one I can push a little bit harder. But can you see it's pushing in as I... Well, you can't see it much. But you've got to kind of push it hard enough, but not too much. And then I'm just turning slowly. For the length of screw, that's actually done quite a lot of turning. Okay, I'm not happy with that middle one. So, see if I can get anything more out of that. I'm not after a lot. It's very loose, but it's actually quite secure. So I'm going to go with that. I think I'm happy enough. There is movement, but it's thin plastic. So I wouldn't say design fault. I don't know why I just moved that. I just had the urge to move that. If you see any levers, you've got to move them, haven't you?
Yeah, it's like red buttons. You just want to push them, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm not going to press that one because it doesn't say do not press. So
That's
I'm not interested in pressing it.
That the passenger eject button.
Yes. I'll tell you what, I wish there was, right, the black lever on the floor. We haven't figured that out yet, but it's called a rod. So I don't know yet. Maybe that's going to do something later on, like have another bit to it. So, right, okay, so shall we crack on with stage 12? It's looking really nice now, isn't it? I'm
Yes.
liking it.
Try not to crack it, though.
Yes. So there is now only one more stage, and there isn't actually an awful lot to do
okay.
anymore. So
we're just going to guide the white and yellow switch cables, 38 M and N, through the notch in the edge of the cab floor, 38A. Take the cables across the underside of the cab floor, between the pairs of sockets circled in light blue. Fix the cables in place with 3 cable clips. The pegs on the cables go into one socket, and the other side is held in place with an AM screw. Now, it doesn't actually say about adding the black and red wire through, but it looks like that is through there as well.
Well, what it's saying the white and yellow cables. Now, the white cable is white and grey, and the yellow cable is white, yellow and black.
Yeah,
So, what I believe it means when it says white and yellow, it means the cable with white and the cable with yellow. So, it's actually referring to two different cables
yeah, that's
because
right.
it does say brackets 38M and 38N. So, right. So what I'm going to do then is I'll just thread that through and then I'll attach the clip there. Then I'll continue to run it through there. And I'm going to try and be neat, but I'm not sure if I'll succeed. But so long as that's clamped down, that'll be fine. So, sod it, I've started now, haven't I? So I'm actually going to I'm going to have my white and yellow cables are actually going to cover the red and black cable from last week. Yeah, it's going to be easier if I put on one clip at a time. So let me get the 3 screws ready. So we need AM screws.
AM, yeah.
Wasn't there a song? AM to PM to AM to P or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. AM to PM. Was it the Sugar Babes or something like that?
I don't know.
I
I
don't know.
don't know. I think we might have a resident music expert in the audience. Right. So yeah, if anyone knows that song, um, AM to PM or something like that. I don't know. Right. So these clips, the 3 of the 8 clips, it looks like the locating pin, as you look directly down on it, the locating pin wants to go on the left and the screw hole on the right. And these are an M screw. So, as someone very nicely reminded me, we need washing up liquid. And look, childproof lock with one hand. I'm growing up. Oh,
Uh,
that's
it's,
way too much on.
it's Christina Milan, AM to PM.
Ah, there we go. Who said that then?
No, me, I
Oh,
googled it.
oh, right, okay. Fighter Sweep says he'll fit a flux capacitor to a Morris Marina. Now that has got to be a future film, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I would say that would be the British version of Back to the Future. Well, perhaps we can call the film Back in Time for a Cup of Tea. Right, there we go. That's gone in. Absolutely no problems whatsoever, but it never does when we whop it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. He says, yeah, but it's got to get to 88 miles an hour.
Good
Might
point.
struggle
This
in
one
one of
only,
them.
yeah, especially the Morris Marina. Can that do 88? Yeah, back in time for a pint. Right. So that's one in. Okay. So, there we go. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to. I mean, if you look at the magazine, you can't actually see the red wire, but I'm just trying to be. I'm trying to make Horlicks's wires look scruffy, which is impossible. But let's go for it. So if I put that in like that. I've actually got one on top of the other now. Okay, so right, that'll go down lovely there. Okay, so I'm going to give up on making them neater than yours, Horlicks. We're never going to win that one anyway, don't we? So again, I'm going to just move that to the front. Just keep that out of the way. Locating pin. That's in. A little bit of washing up liquid. Oh, excuse me. I had a lovely BLT sandwich for my dinner, which I shouldn't have had actually. I bought bread from the bakery and cooked meat from the butcher so that I didn't have to buy sandwiches. And I end up buying sandwiches anyway.
Oh, you can't beat a fresh BLT like with made at home with hot bacon in it.
I still remember this girl I used to work with. She always used to make me laugh. She took me in Subway for the first time ever. And she said, watch this. She goes, you will not believe how stupid the Subway staff are. She says, I'm going to order a BLT. I said, okay. So she goes in, she says, can I have a BLT, please? And the staff member says, what meat would you like? So she said, bacon. So she says, okay. Would you like cheese on that? So she says, no. Says, okay. So then we get over to the salad, and she says,
I can't.
what
I can't believe
what
you're telling
salad?
this story.
This is a true story.
Yeah, I know it is. This happened to me.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah. So then they go, what salad would you like on it?
Yeah.
So she says, can I have lettuce and tomato, please?
I can't believe it. Yeah, exactly the same.
Yeah.
I went in and
So
said, can I have a BLT, please? Oh, what would you like in it? I'd like a
yeah,
BLT. And I'll get.
bacon, lettuce and tomato, please.
Oh, it's just, yeah. So they must be running on like a script. They have
Yeah.
to be.
And then they go, would you like any sauce on that? And she's like, no, I don't. But you know, I thought I topped it all because I have actually gone into McDonald's, ordered a latte, and got a black coffee. And you can't go possibly any more wrong than that, could you? But yeah, I think BLT. There's a couple of subways that I get on really well with, and I call them subologists because I say, oh, there is a science of sandwich making. Because quite often what I'll do is I'll just pick some random ingredients and then I'll say, what sauce do you recommend with that? Because you are the sandwich doctors, which is why I call them subologists. But I have called one person a subologist and they've looked at me and went, huh? Right. So sorry, I've kind of skipped ahead without explaining. But this last clip I've put on exactly the same as the previous two. The locating pin on the left and the actual screw on the right. And these two are quite tight. That might be tight because this one is, but this one's quite loose. But I don't think it'll be a problem. They're stretched as far as I can without them breaking. Because obviously, I expect we'll have some leeway. You know, it probably reached the junction box with that much spare, but you don't know how much you've got at the moment. And the only thing that worries me is that these two are showing. Think they'll get covered up at some point. But yeah, that's what I've got, and I'm rather happy with that. I thought it was very easy. I didn't see anything difficult about it, other than you really need to take your time.
Yeah.
Some of the instructions might look a bit complicated, but just break them down. I'll show you this for example. Actually, can you bring up section 12? Oh, we're going to look at the finish. Sorry, there's the finished view according to the magazine. There you go. Oh, right. Sorry. Right. So there's. So that's one position. And the second image is something like that. So obviously I've got no handbrake at the moment, which we'll deal with momentarily. And I think the 15 minutes might just have enough. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So can I just ask you just to bring up section 12 again? That's it. So you see there that there are 8 different components that they're pointing at. If you look at that 38, or that one right at the front, you only deal with that. Don't ignore the rest of them. Once that's done, you move along to the next bit and you deal only with the screw and the component. Excuse me, so I've got something in my throat. So if you're dealing only with the parts in question and you ignore the rest of it, it becomes a lot easier. And I just think that's how you need to deal with it. So, right, is everybody happy with that issue? If so, we'll have a look at next week. We'll catch up on the chat, and then it looks like I'll only have time to paint the one colour on the handbrake, but that'll be fine. I mean, again, we're not in a rush to do this, are we? So is there any... Yeah, sorry. Right, so next week, that's a picture, and it looks like I didn't get the scan that good this week. I do apologise. But it says the driver's seat is assembled and fitted to the floor of the driver's cab on a special stand. So can I assume that there will be a seat in either one or two parts? And it looks like there's like a little square box that it sits on. So do you think that's all we'll get?
It's difficult, isn't it?
Do you think there'll be many people out there complaining about quantity over quality and vice versa?
I expect so. And I have noticed as well, the handbrake is behind the seat, so it might be a case of having to get the handbrake back in before that gets fitted in.
Okie dokie. So, although to be honest with you, it looks like it's a 5-minute job for next week. So, okay. So, right. Is there any part of the chat? Oh, I like that. Does it go up and down like a spring? That's a really good question. I actually don't know. But that would be quite nice if it did. And if it doesn't, do you think it's something we might be able to modify? Moment to think there. Right. Okay, as we're chatting, I'm trying to find... I had a bit of a mini tidy yesterday on my desk. And those that watch me on Twitch knows that when I say mini tidy, what it actually means is I can no longer find anything.
Yeah.
Because everything's got moved around. And I'm after the most obvious looking pot of paint ever. It's a square pot. Ah, here it is. It's behind my drink that I bought last week that I haven't actually drunk yet. Right, okay, so if I've forgotten to respond to anything in the chat, I do apologise. If you could write it again, that would be appreciated. So what I've got here is no tweezers. Right, here we go. I've made these sides a little bit too tall, I think. Right, now I've primed this in grey, and the reason I've primed it in grey is just so that it makes... will a driver come with it? I think it makes sense because we're going to get a conductor, so we need a driver, don't we? Because they're a team of two. And Dave Milne says, will it be leather or plastic? I think it's going to be plastic. And I think it's going to look plastic because if you look at their black plastic parts, they do look like plastic. We look at the dashboard. It does look like it's made of plastic. So I think the seat will. So I think I've got a feeling I may be repainting my seat. And Chris says, "Do I think you'll?" Yeah, I think you will, Chris. Again, if you take your time and look at things, I think you'll be fine with it. Right. So I've primed you. I mean, the obvious choice here is to prime this black because then actually then you've done half of the work then. But I've primed it in grey simply because then you'll be able to see better. Now I'm using an acrylic paint which is water soluble. I'm using this one because I get like a box of paints come every month, and one particular month they sent us this. Equally, I could use Vallejo black gloss black paint because I own that. You could use Humbrol. You could even use an enamel paint, but I don't particularly like enamels because these are so much easier to clean up. All you need to use this is a pot of water, a piece of kitchen roll, and a paintbrush, and that's all you need at most basic level. So what we're going to do is I'll use this because I'm keen on using parts that I know everyone will definitely have. So we'll use the plastic. We'll get a brush. Now I'm using a good brush because I have good brushes from where I paint. But what all I'm going to do is just pop a little bit of paint on there, and we never want to give it a good shake. Yeah, I hope the passenger seats will be cloth as well. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a couple of dabs of paint onto a palette. I mean, I've got palettes, but I'm trying to use something that I know you guys will all have. You don't have to use a good brush. Now, if you painted directly up with that, that's quite thick, so you will end up with brush marks. So all you want to do is, I've got my paint water here. I'm going to use that for convenience, and I'm just going to put a couple of dabs of water in. So there's roughly half paint, half water. We'll give that a little mix. Now, because we're thinning this paint a little bit, you won't get great coverage with it. So we're going to have to paint 2 layers on. For anyone that does miniature painting and they paint with GW products, they'll be aware of the expression 2 thin coats. Always better to do 2 thin coats than 1 thick one. And then all we're going to do is we're just going to carefully paint. And I'm going to paint the whole lot black. 2 reasons. One is that while I'm doing this first base coat, I don't have to think, I just paint. And secondly, I'm going to pick up the metallic details probably in the next issue. And metallic always works best painted over black. I don't understand the science of it. I just know that rule. And then carefully as you like, you could get a big thick brush and do it all in, but try to keep the layers thin. And you'll notice in some areas I haven't got great coverage. That's because I thinned my paint. So like I say, 2 thin coats. So I won't do the second coat on camera, but what I will do at some point in the next week, I will put a second coat on that. And try and keep it all in one direction. It just helps with the brush marks. And I just can't emphasize thin coats enough. You see, because I put the primer on, again, it's something I don't understand the science of, but primer sticks to surfaces that paint won't stick to, like bare plastic, for example. And then the paint is sticking to the primer. It's the same similar principle with a lot of things. It also seals it. In the case of things like wood, if you were to paint the door, you need to put an undercoat in first because if you painted the top coat on first, it would just soak into the wood and it just wouldn't stick properly. So the undercoat is actually sealing it. But in this case, what we're doing is providing a nice surface for the paint to stick to. Now, the only bugbear that I have with gloss, and this is how gloss works, I'm afraid, if you have matte paint, it goes on shiny like it is now because it's wet, it's watery, it's glycery, glisteny, whatever the word is, it glistens. When it dries to a matte finish. So you can obviously tell when it's dry because it goes from being shiny to matte finish. Gloss paint, obviously it stays shiny. And I'm probably taking far more time on this than you would need to. But I'm just making sure, make sure you get a good coverage. Any bits that I've missed. And that is quite a light black. But like I say, it's a thin coat. You got something going on in the background there, Horlicks?
Oh, I think it's just the dogs from a few doors up as normal.
Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom. I don't want to touch that black paint. So I'll just go down as far as I dare. And then what I'll do is I will leave that. Probably ideally want about, what do you reckon? Let's say half an hour. Sorry, I might have just done that off camera. Sometimes it's hard to tell between the painted bit and the grey bit. There we go. And that will be nice and glossy. It looks a bit duff at the moment because it's a thin coat. In fact, what I'm going to do, I've got a clamp somewhere. I had a clamp. I no longer have a clamp. See if I've got a hole somewhere. Right, okay. So I'll put it like that. So, and then I'll let that dry. And then I'll go in and I'll do the bottom of it. And then I'll do a second coat. And then when you return next week, that will all be one colour, nice and smooth. And what's that? Painted yourself into a corner now, Penny. Yes, I have. I really did not want to paint. I didn't want to modify any of this, but I'm sorry. I just couldn't stand that brown. I didn't like it. I haven't said much bad about this. I haven't said much bad about the Routemasters, so this is the first negative thing that I've said about it. But it's an easy fix. If you're happy with a brown handbrake, and I've never, ever, ever put a brown handbrake on, and I just think it's going to, plus the contrast between the brown and the black, it's just going to add a little bit more. And of course, we're going to add the silver details on as well, and that I think that's really going to pop. So yeah, Chris says he doesn't blame me there. But look, sorry, I actually did it off camera. That's my brush clean. That's why one of the many reasons why I like acrylic paints. To clean it, all I've done is I've just run it through there a couple of times. I could take it one stage further and get some. I've got some. I mean, I paint. My primary hobby is painting, so I've got a lot of equipment that other people may not have. But I mean, if you've got a cheap brush, you might decide that you've bought a cheap brush and you're going to throw it away. These brushes are about £5 each, so I want them to last a few times. So I will actually. Love Minis, are you still around? Is it shampoo that we can use as a replacement for this? But basically, at the end of the day, what I should be doing is just run some of this brush cleaner through, and that'll just keep my brush nice. And that's cleaned and conditioned in less time than it would take you to clean your brush if you were using enamel paints, because you'd be using spirits and things. Yeah, but these are Kolinsky Sable. These are very, very good brushes. If you bought these made by a company called Windsor and Newton, which are arguably the best brushes around, you're talking about £15 a brush. So I won't pay that for a company that I think are just as good, in my opinion. Okay, guys. So are you happy with that issue? I know I am, and I hope you like what I've done. The pot of paint, you're talking about £2. Yeah, no, that's fine. But don't forget that this model is supposed to be as it rolled out of the factory, so there won't be too much wear and tear on it. And Chris, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you could go. I mean, obviously you don't collect build the Routemaster, but I don't think you could go wrong with this. I've just taken small gentle strokes. It does look awful down the bottom. I will emphasize this over and over. But if I now put a second coat, I could probably put a second coat on. But I'll show you next week. It's a little bit patchy because I've thinned that paint down. If you're not getting patchy coats, I would probably say, have you thinned your paints enough? So the last thing I'm going to do, because this is going to be sitting there for a week, I'm just going to tidy these wires up a little bit. I'm trying to think of a good way to do it. Get those two, we'll bend them there. I'm just bending them on the natural places where they're already bent. And then I'll just get a piece of masking tape. I'm reusing because I come from Norfolk and we're stingy in Norfolk. So I will reuse this masking tape. Go. And then I'll just bring that onto there. And reuse this. That can go onto there. How long that will hold, I don't know. But yeah, that's issues. Where are we up to? That's issues 36, 37, 38. And I don't know about you, but I'm happy with that. Are you all right, Horlicks?
Yeah, that looks really good. There's quite a lot come together. It sets the steering wheel off now, and
yeah, I did notice that somebody had made a copy of the AEG, whatever his logo, the logo. I'll just call it the logo. Right, so I'm going to find a place for these 5 spare bits because, like you said at the beginning, we don't know if they're actually spare. You know, we could dispose of them spare, or if they're going to be used in another part, or maybe one will break in a future part. If, for example, if we've got 3 more, 4 or 5 of these coming in a future issue, and I get a duff issue where perhaps they forgot to put those parts in, then I've got them and I can continue then, can't I?
yeah, could be that.
So always good to keep your spares. So we'll pop mine in this last one on the metal screws. Now I'll tell you what. Let's put them in. Oh no. Oh. So I'm putting things the wrong way. Right, so they're going to go in there, which will be my last one of the plastic screws. So if I ever should want them and I can't find them, remind me they're in with the plastic screws. Okay, guys. So I think I'm done now. Does anybody think of anything I might have forgotten apart from the bins, which I have remembered? We've actually got the landlord and landlady coming round and doing the bins now because they no longer trust us to do them anymore, which suits me down to the ground because it means I don't have to do anything.
Oh, so you haven't got to do the bins?
Nope. Nope, they get done for me now. After the row we had after the electric, we've had a falling out, and she seems to not trust me anymore. And which is funny because we had an issue with the electric, and she doesn't trust me on the bins. So, but no, that's fine. And I'll leave you with a joke. Can I tell a rude joke?
I
Would you
don't know.
allow that?
I don't mind.
Well, first joke isn't rude. Right? If it's just simply that I am so lazy, excuse me, that if I entered a lazy person contest, I would actually finish fourth. That way, I wouldn't have to climb the podium.
Yeah.
And the rude jokes. Is there anybody under the age of 18 watching the stream at the moment? Actually, I won't tell it because obviously this is available all at any time of day. So yeah, I'd better not actually. But I'll tell you the joke later on. Right. Okay, guys. So I'm really happy with that. And that was actually just slightly less than 2 hour stream, which is really good for us. We do struggle to do 2 hours, don't we?
Mm.
Um, yeah, no, I'm really happy with that. That's all starting to come together now. Yeah, Chris says it, text it to me.
We
Okay,
do
well,
struggle to do 2 hours.
um,
We normally go on.
oh, I like that, Chris. BNAG, that's bang out of order. That's brilliant. Oh, I'll leave you with a funny story. Well, it's actually an observation that I made. Now, this morning, if you're at school and you take other school kids' dinner money, that's called being a bully, isn't it? And that's really wrong. But if you're a bus driver, you get to do it all the time. And what actually happened? We have this problem with. Well, I have this problem with the sixth formers. They think because they're at school, they should get child fare, but they pay adult fare because they're 16. Child fare runs from the age of 5 to the age of 15. However, we have this scheme where if they apply for a card which is free of charge, they can actually get a youth fare for less than a child fare. But if they don't have this card, they have to pay adult fare. So the sixth former gets on the bus and he chucks his money in the chute. Now, we have little chutes. We can't get the money out. We can't give change because we have no access. We're not actually allowed to touch any money. So once that money's in there, we can't do anything about it. So he chucks the money in the chute. It's just enough for a child day ticket. And he says, child day ticket. I said, you haven't put enough in. So he says, well, I said, well, it's adult fare. I said, have you got a youth card? He says, no. So I said, well, you have to pay adult fare then. It's £3.70. He then comes out with a typical question, which they always ask, well, how much more do I need? Because, you know, you're a sixth former, so you can't calculate £2.30 from £3.70. So I tell him how much, £1.40, £1. Yeah, £1.40. So in the end, what he does, he puts in a £5 note. So he's actually overpaid by about £4. And he says to me, that's my dinner money you're taking. And I just went, that's a shame. As I bit into a cinnamon roll and took a mouthful of milkshake. So, but that's fine. I can take their dinner money.
Can you give change or not?
No, and we don't give change. It causes the odd argument because people come in, they've got a £10 note, and we can't do anything. But you know, our bus services run from the city centre. All you've got to do is go in a shop and buy something. But then again, the shop complains constantly because people come in at 7:30 in the morning and buy like a packet of chewing gum and give them a £20 note, and they very quickly run out of change. So, right, take care, Chris. Thank you for popping in. I appreciate your support.
Yeah. See you later, Chris.
Oh, that reminds me. But check out a video of a woman talking about why they call them rings on fingers, not finger rings, like earrings and toe rings. It's really funny. Yeah, it's something I heard the other day, and I gotta think about this one. We have fingertips, but we don't have toe tips. Yet you can tiptoe, but you don't tip finger, which I thought was a bit sends your brain a bit funny. Yeah, I don't actually know. I mean, it's nice that I don't have to deal with money, um, because it eliminates. It's a sad fact that some, well, like all jobs, a percentage of bus drivers are dishonest, but in all fairness, a percentage of just about everybody is dishonest, and that's the way things are. And they have this system. Apparently, it saved them thousands and thousands in revenue. Um, they now have machine to maintain, but it's the balance. They've actually saved a lot of money. I suppose they make a lot of money where people put too much money in and don't get change.
Mm.
Um,
When I used to get
from a,
on the bus as a kid, like if I mean, I knew the bus drivers hated having big change.
mm,
Fair enough, but if I went on a bus and only had a £10 note, more often than not, they'd just say, "Don't worry about it, get
yeah,
on."
yeah.
But
But then again, we have prepaid cards as well. We have a thing called a Freedom Card, and you can actually top up the card, and you can top up on the bus. And if you pay with the Freedom Card, you actually pay 10% less. So your £1.80 single is now £1.62. And so if you put £2 on the card and then you have a single for £1.62, your change stays on the card. So you don't lose any money. So you get cheaper fares and you get your change. So we don't actually not give change. It's just, yeah, like the Oyster card. You top your Oyster card up and then every time you tap, but I think with Oyster cards, they're always set fares, aren't they?
so I
But
suppose, like, really, then that lad this morning should have got a card because then he would have had
yeah,
his change to.
yep. Yeah, what he would have done is he would have had £2.30 on the card. Then he would have topped it up by £5. I would have taken off. It wouldn't have been £3.70. It would have been £3.22, and then the change would have been on his card. So
Yeah.
that then means, but essentially what it means is that every 10 journeys or every 10 purchases is free. So, and why more people don't do it? Yeah, we don't take contactless. And again, I don't know if I like that or not. Um, I kind of think it's a little bit funny to use contactless for like £1. I think
Oh,
that's a
I do
bit.
all the time.
Oh, see, now me and you are going to disagree on that one. Having said that, though, I have done myself. Excuse
Depends,
me,
because I
but
don't
that,
often carry change on me. So if I go into a
yeah,
shop, it comes to £1.20, or I buy a drink for £1.
yeah,
I normally just get my card out, whack it on the
yeah.
thing, and off I go.
The most times when I use the card is when I'm in the shop. If I'm buying just like a cup of coffee and it's early morning, and because obviously you go to a cash point, you only get teners and twenties. And I say to the girls in there, I say, "Yeah, you're right for change," and they're like, "Well, we're a bit short." So I'm like, "All right, I'll pay by card then to save them their change."
Yeah.
Because I try to, anyone that I use regularly, I try to be respectful to, because obviously I'm using them a lot, and it's all part of the relationship, isn't it? I help them, they help me, and plus sometimes I might get extra stamps on the card for helping them out. You don't know. So yeah, I do like the Oyster card. It charges. When I was working in Surbiton, I used to have an Oyster card and I'd tap it and it would take, I think it was £1.50, and then the second journey it'd take another £1.50. If I then made a third journey, it would take, I think it was £1, and then every journey after that was free because it would only take a maximum for a day ticket, which was like £4. But also, apparently, if you're a resident of London, you then get your fares even cheaper or something like that. You can apply for a resident pass or something. And then obviously, now, Kevin, you say you've got a bus pass. Have you got a London pass, or have you got an out of London one? Because I understand you can't use London, or because all the pensioners and concessions they get an Oyster card, but they don't have to top it up because it's all free travel. But they can't use that out of London. And likewise, and I think this is really unfair, people in England with a concession pass can't use it in Wales or Scotland, and Scotland can't use it in England and Wales, and so on and so forth. And I live about 12 miles from Bristol, and people who live in Bristol can't use their concession pass in Newport and vice versa, which I also always thought it was Great Britain. All right, so is your pass the I'm going to guess England pass, or is it the London one? I'm not 100% sure how London works, but I know the England one, it has a no, it doesn't have a rose. It has a symbol that the council decide, I think. So I don't know. Right, okay. So any other business?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't
Yeah,
think there is.
yeah. Kevin's got an English pass, so that'll be blue border across the top, and it'll have a little picture. It might have a rose, it might not. I can't remember. Ours in Wales, they're completely different, and Scottish passes look very similar to the English ones, but they are slightly different. And because what will happen is, someone from England gets on my bus, I will spot that concession pass before they put it on the machine because it's so different. But when I was in England working and you got someone Scottish comes on, they'd put the pass on the machine and it would come up red. And I'd be sitting there going, oh, I don't know why it's not coming up. And then I'd see the pass and I'd see it's Scottish. So, but yeah. Okay. So, look, I'm going to call this to an end now because obviously I've still got work to do tomorrow. But thank you all for putting up with me today. And I don't like, but the good news is that this shift that I've done today, it's not going to come up on a Wednesday for another 16 weeks, unless we get a rota change, which we're likely to do because they like to change our rotas every couple of weeks. Next week, it's going to be a lot. I've got next Wednesday. I've got off. I'm off to my secret location to copy a secret book on the Routemasters, which I unfortunately part of the deal is I can't tell you where I get it from. I can't give you copies of it. I can share the information with you. I can share it verbally. But if I actually share it with you in written copy, I'm going to have to write it out myself as though I've done it. I can't give you a direct copy. But this is it's like a handwritten manual on the Routemaster, and apparently, if it's not in this manual, it's information that just doesn't need to be known. So I probably won't have it ready for next week because I'll be copying it. But I'll basically be sitting here with loads of bits of paper that haven't been sorted out yet. So hopefully, what we'll be able to do from now on in, whatever part of the bus we're working on, I'll be able to look through the manual, and we can actually discuss more about that information, about that section. So hopefully that will help us all with our builds. And then what we'll try and do is we'll try and go back to issue one, and then what we'll try and do is we will do like a catch up. So if like 1 week we'll do a quick flick on issue 1 and 2, and then we'll look in the manual for anything relevant to that, and then so on, and eventually we'll catch up. So we'll actually be able to get information, which I think is going to be exciting. Maybe not. I don't
Yeah, no,
know.
it'd be good. Yeah,
So
especially like things we don't know, like the levers today. Wasn't sure.
yeah,
Just look it up.
yeah. Um, Apparently, what you'd be able to do, it's for the purpose of discussion, I'm going to call it a Haynes manual. It's not a Haynes manual, but you'll be able to, if someone gave you every single part that you need to build a Routemaster, you'd be able to use this manual to build it or figure it out. So I don't know if there is a Haynes manual. I might have a look, and if I ever become rich again, I might actually buy it. I've got, um, I think you guys have seen it before, but I've got this Haynes book, and what it is they do one on the Star Trek as well. Excuse the quality; it's really bad. Um, it's a book, and it's got all parts, and you pull the parts out, and you make the bus with it. But there's actually a whole host of information. As you see, it's really badly designed. It's the first card model that I ever made, and it was a laugh putting it together, um, because I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. And I think that's why it was funny. I didn't take it seriously, because it was the first time I'd done a card model. But basically, you get a book, and it's got about 8 or 10 pages of information, and then the rest of it is just all the pieces that you push out. But yeah, we'll have a look, and maybe if someone's got a copy or can get a copy, maybe we'll be able to share that. So right, I'm going to sign off then. I can talk for England, so I'm going to sort of force myself to sign off now. So I'll see you guys next week, and I promise you it will be an 8 o'clock show next week. So I'll have the handbrake ready for you, and then we'll try and get the silver parts on, and that'll be ready to go in. So right, so take care then. Bye bye, and I'll just let Horlicks say goodbye as well.
Okay, yeah. See you later, everyone. Thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you next week.
Okay, take care then. Bye
Yeah,
bye.
bye.